The American Adoption Congress 13th International Conference, April 11th to the 14th, 1991 in Garden Grove, California. This is program number D151, tape 40.
And maybe I might, if a lot of people come in, I might repeat just this beginning part. This is the Adoptee Empowerment Workshop, and I had several other titles that I wanted to have for it. One was Adoptees Not in Denial, and another one was Adult Children of Adoption, which is this term I heard that Joanne Small used, which I thought was really good. And her idea was that adoptee is something, and saying adult children of adoption sort of takes the stigma out of us and puts it back onto, the dysfunctional system of adoption. So I like that idea. Will all the adoptees who are here raise their hands? Great. Okay, great. Don't even have to say the rest of it, but I'll just say it. This workshop is for adoptees, and I asked people who weren't adoptees to sit in the back. I wanted to have it only for adoptees, and the reason that is that I think it's really important for us that we have a safe place, and that we have a place where we don't have to feel, we already feel it enough, that we have to protect our birth parents, our adoptive parents, the social workers, the rest of the world, from our feelings. And I think that a lot of times in some of these workshops that starts happening. I also think that what happens is that, adoptee will say something like, I feel really abandoned, and we'll talk about their abandonment, and then, a birth mother will raise their hand and say, well, I feel the same way. And I'm not denying that they might feel the same way, but I think it's important for us to have our reality and to have our voice. And I feel like literally we have been voiceless in, we were given up before we were born, and, in some cases before we were born, and not many cases right after we were born. So that's why I wanted to structure the workshop that way. And I ask that people who aren't adoptees, I will tell you there'll be a part in this that you can participate in, but I'd like to, if you want to be an observer, okay. But there'll be part of the exercises that you can partake in, and other parts, unless I say that, it's really for the adoptees that are here. And I understand, there's a lot of adoptees who are birth parents or social workers or whatever, and I'd like just to say, this is for your adoptee here. I think that, the other part of this is that I think there's not been a place where we can really express our rage, our sorrow, our grief, and even our joy, and that we censor ourselves a lot as to our feelings. Like, the feelings are really scary for us, and I think also scary for other people. And, so who knows why we censor ourselves, whether it's because of our own fear, or our fear of alienating other people. So, what I wanted to do does anybody have any questions about that, or want to add to that as an adoptee? What I want to do is, I feel that most of us, and I'm just speaking in general terms, and people might have different feelings, and that's fine, that can come out too, that we haven't had a chance to grieve or acknowledge our grief or come to terms with our losses. We haven't, a lot of us, had a chance to be a child, to be irrational, and say how it is that we really feel. So what I wanted to do at the beginning is talk about all the shitty things about being adopted. If somebody would like to have a fit, you can have a fit. This is a place where, we can just be sick of it, and we don't have to, understand anybody else. We don't have to understand that, somebody else has a problem, or somebody else was victimized by this. This is, so we can just get it out. I guess I'll give you a little overview of what I'm going to do so you get the sense of it. Because I feel like this is a process for me that has happened this workshop is for me a mini process of what I feel like my life is about as an adoptee. So the first thing is just to talk about like just really how shitty it is, and you know, just be irrational, just anything. I don't care. Nobody cares, you know. And then the second part is we'll talk about how we have empowered ourselves, things that we've done. You know, I've heard some things here people have done, and things that we might like to do or we might think might help us to empower ourselves. Then if we can think of anything, we'll talk about the positive things about being adopted. And I really think that that until we say all the shitty things and all the negative things, that we can really never get to the part of the positive things. So that's why I'm structuring it this way. And then there's going to be a really great exercise at the end, which is a lot about seeing ourselves, how we see ourselves, how other people see us. Because I think a lot of times that we're afraid of expressing our feelings, like, you know, in our adoptive homes, if we really said how we felt, we might be given away. Or if, you know, we express how we feel in our foster homes or in our adoptive, in our birth families, you know, they might not like us and they might not want to have a relationship with us anymore. So it's a way to say that it's okay, you know. Just for the people who came in, this workshop is for adoptees. If you're not an adoptee, I ask you to sit in the back and to not participate except for at the end. The last exercise you get to do too, because it's a great thing. So let's start with like, just tell me all the shitty things about being adopted. Just, you know, if people want to stand up, if you want to walk around the room, if you want to, you know, do anything with the chair, go for it.
I think not feeling part of the family all the time I was growing up, and I had really good placement, if you want to put it that way. I don't usually think
Okay,
of myself.
I'm going to stop people at the beginning just because I want to get like, I don't want to hear anything good. I don't want to hear anything good. Because when have we ever got to say how yucky it is? When have we not had to qualify our stuff?
That's the reality. But anyway, where I was coming from as a child, I always felt a little bit lonely, and a little bit removed. And then I think, and I'll just jump around,
Great.
hearing, walking along one night with another couple when my husband and I went to fireworks, and this girl was talking about somebody, and she said, well, you know, she was an adoptee. Like, you know, what could you expect? I've heard other comments like that, and the other one that gets me is Ann Landers is a Neanderthal.
Yeah, great.
I'm so tired of her putting down these awful people that search and mess everything up.
Right.
It really put my life back together to search, and I would like to tell her, but I got so mad when I tried to write the letter that I didn't write it.
Great.
So will all please write to her and tell her I'm mad at her.
Anyone who's not an adoptee who would like to take notes about some of this stuff, it'd be great, because then we can do some things at the end with the notes, or anybody who wants to take notes. But okay, great. Anybody else?
I'm really sick and tired of hearing how lucky I am.
Oh shit.
I'm tired of hearing how lucky I am. I'm tired of my grandmother handing me the check for my birthday saying, see, I never treated you any differently than the rest. I'm tired of my parents not celebrating my birthday and celebrating my chosen.
You guys, here's the microphone. You know, if you want to like put it on the tape, you know what I mean? Like, let's just go. Great. Anything else? You can say, go for it. Let's hear about it. Come on, you know.
I'm very upset with my birth mother because she really thinks, she's very upset that I don't think my adoptive home was perfect. She wanted it to be perfect. She would like me to tell her it was perfect. And it sucked.
It sucked. It wasn't fucking perfect.
No, it wasn't. It was very imperfect.
Having been observed all my life under some kind of microscope, I need to know who is observing in this room right now.
Okay, that's a good idea. Are there any people who aren't adoptees here? Okay. So.
Who are they and why are they here?
I'm discussing adoptees, okay?
Carrying one.
You're okay.
I was married to an adoptee for 14 years, and I'd like
page.
Mhm.
Thanks.
I'm a director of an adoption agency, and for me to be able to attend to the needs, I need to know where the wage comes from. And so we can, I guess, disseminate services a little bit better when we understand it more. And we have an extensive post-adoption service to do that.
I'm a psychotherapist, and many of my clients are either adoptees or birth parents that have given up their children. And I do a hell of a lot of rage work.
I think we should certify them all as okay.
We don't have to. We can hate them, you know? That's like, I really just need to say that, you know? And they're going to have to deal with the rejection that they feel, or the abandonment they feel, or the unwantedness that they feel. That's their stuff, you know?
I'm actually upset right now to see this person who's studying so what she can do better for the adoptee. It
Uh-huh.
triggers me to see you fucked me up,
Right,
you know?
right.
You know, so fuck off, you know? You know, if you don't belong, you don't even know what the fuck it is to have pain for an adoptee, you know?
Right.
Like, fuck, I hope you learned something today.
Great.
You know,
and
listen, open your heart and your ears, because we have a lot to say.
Right, great. And I appreciate you, what you just said about identifying them, you know, and just that feeling of being observed and stuff. And basically, they said I couldn't close this workshop. So, you know, and I think that we're not here to educate them, you know. We are not here to educate them. They can read a book. You know, they can figure it out themselves. We're here for ourselves. And so, you know, maybe they'll get something out of it, but let's just try and focus on ourselves and, like, you know.
Well, I have to say that makes me a little angry because people like this person wouldn't be here if she didn't care.
Yeah, I know.
And nothing is perfect.
Right.
Adoption isn't perfect.
Right.
But nothing in life is perfect. And,
Yeah.
and we need, as adoptees, to open up
Yeah.
to the people that are willing to
Yeah, and before we can do that, you know, like I'm going to just end this. I'm going to end this conversation like after this thing that I say, because we need to get to our stuff. We don't need to like debate this, okay? You know, it's like I'm glad there's people who care. I agree. There's a big conference here, and there's people who care, but we need to talk about ourselves. So that's just how it is. Sorry. I'm not sorry. Okay, so and if you're pissed about that, you can talk about that. So all the shitty things about being adopted.
People who aren't adopted don't understand what a major part of our life it is, and when you bring it up, they say, oh no, not that adoption thing.
Right.
And you relate that back to everything. It can't be the cause of everything in your life.
Uh-huh.
You know, when you said that, to me, it was like always in the back of my head, just as I was like always aware that I was a girl and not a boy or something, it was just always there. And I could have done something else with that energy.
Right. Right. Great. We're going to talk about what else could have done with that energy, so remember that. Yeah. You guys, don't raise your hands. Let's just, like, be rude, okay? Go for it.
I can't believe that they think they screen these people. I can't believe I can't believe that they were trained to blatantly ignore pedophiles who want to fuck kids. And I can't believe that they ignored alcoholics who are blatantly, actively alcoholics, who are placed in that family, or psychotic mothers.
God didn't mean for them to have kids.
Right, somebody actually interviewed them and sat with them, and I can't fucking believe it. Sucks.
It really does.
Because the caseworker, when I confronted her about abuse in an adoptive placement, said to me, well, we had a psychiatrist, you saw the psychiatrist, and I said, yes, I remember. And she said, but you wouldn't tell them anything. It was by design.
Right. And no place else to live.
And like no psychiatrist ever abuse anybody.
No.
I don't like listening to all the sacrifices. My mother used to say, you know, besides, you don't know how lucky you are we adopted you, was all the sacrifices we made for you. You better be perfect. And I'm tired of listening to people telling me how much they sacrifice.
Great. Great.
I'm one of the things that's pained me for years is not looking like anyone. When you say that to people, it seems so petty, but it's really not petty at all. And one of the things, I just went to this wonderful aging workshop, and women my age who were kind of just getting into gray and wrinkles were talking about looking at their moms as role models and being able to look in their mom's eyes and say, that's where I'll be. And it's really hurting me that I can't look into someone's eyes and say, yeah, that's where I'm going to be and it's going to be okay. Just that I don't have a visual role model changing. And I want to grow up. And you know, and grow old. I want that opportunity, and I wish I knew more of what that looks like. And it's like uncharted territory.
I just said recently, I noticed some little lines under my eyes, and I got out a picture of my birth mother and looked to see where the wrinkles are. I was like, where do I need to put lotion first? And I do it every day.
But I'm trying to feel okay about the wrinkles and the gray, and I'm really trying to work on seeing it not as a negative thing, but as a growth thing. It's like we're not puppies. We all grow up into dogs and cats, and we're still gorgeous. And not being able to, you know, I love older women who are pleased with themselves, and I kind of gravitate to them because I want to get that sense of growing into someone that's still okay. And I don't have a visual model, and that angers me. That's something my adoptive family can't do for me.
Right, great.
Just give me that mirror.
Great.
I have a hard time being able to feel angry.
I
mean, I'm learning about a lot of things, and I feel kind of sad, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, these are adoption issues, and I never knew that they were adoption issues. And the thing about, you know, you're so lucky, you're so special, why aren't you grateful? And that really has affected me, like my crazy mother. You know, somehow I'm the sick one because I rejected the craziness of her, so I rejected her, so I'm sick. You know, and it's just, I don't know, maybe I'll get to the anger. I'm feeling more sad.
Yeah, it took me.
I'm pissed as hell, and my folks were still always saying, you have to love and honor and respect us. And I said, shit, you never gave any of that stuff to me. I mean, I'm an incest survivor of both my parents. I was placed in a home. Both the parents are incest survivors, and my mother's a martyr, and my mother acted some of it out, but my father was the acting out. I don't know what normal sexual relationships are because my father slept with me from the time I was 2 or 3 till the time I left the house. I know. I'm just pissed as hell that this had to happen.
Yeah,
that I had to go through all this shit, that I have to suffer, that, you know, I'm going through therapy, and I've been through therapy, and I have to continue every time the shit comes
and it costs so much fucking money. I mean, what is this shit?
Pay for the social work.
Yeah. Great, let's hear about it.
You know, they think you're around and then just slap you there. I also can't believe that my birth mother didn't know where I was going to go.
Right.
You know, that she just said, see ya. I won't qualify. That she just said later, and that I got placed in an abusive family.
Right.
And that she didn't know where I was going to be, and she didn't check it out.
Right. Did she find you? She didn't even fucking find you.
Find me.
God.
It also sucks that, you know, for me to know what time I was born, or if I have a medical history, I've got to put up bucks for it.
Yeah.
I was told that there was nothing wrong in any physical things in either side of my family. And when I found my birth mother, who is still alive and healthy, she told me that her mother died at age 42, and I am more than 42, of breast cancer. And I have since had a breast tumor removed that, thank God, was benign. But, you know, my birth mother was 7 when her mother died. So she didn't have me until after she was 7. I mean, you know. So she did know at the time that her mother had died of breast cancer. And nothing on there. I mean, you'd think these people never had a cold.
Right. Oh, they're perfect, right?
I do. I can't tell you how many times in my search.
It's a huge detail to omit, isn't it?
Who lies.
Oh, yeah.
They lie, and they don't. I just don't think they try to see your side of it. They're stuck in the middle, and so they don't take anybody's side.
It's a job, right? I'm just doing my job.
They really believe. I met my caseworker, my original caseworker, who placed me, who met my birth mother and put me with my parents. I actually have contacted her. She became the director, retired, and I had conversations with her. And she talked in such a grandmotherly way about, you know, how, you know, we just thought we were doing a job. And, you know, and all of a sudden I'm like, you have never
walked in my shoes. When I went to do my search, it was nothing but games. I mean, I went from, was my mother born in the United States? Yes, okay. Was she born in the lower left quadrant? These games.
Really humiliating stuff.
And
Yeah,
to think
beg for information about yourself.
unbelievable.
Probably baking, huh?
I just think that's the part of the triad, the system that isn't working right. It's the placement part. I think that hurt me more than the birth mother and my parents and what I was going. I think it was that part of the system really angers me the most.
My rage mostly came from the trauma of the separation. Eventually, that's where my rage really was directed.
Well, so how do you feel about it?
Today?
Yeah.
I'm a whole new human being today, but I've done a ton of rage. A ton of rage. About 2 years ago.
I was in a workshop one time where they did a guided imagery of having us float back over our lives, and I was able to come to, and I had not done any of my search then, I was able to come to seeing myself in the delivery room and so forth, and saw my mother with long brown hair and with the father, and saw her walk away and not really give a damn. And it was more difficult for her than that to some extent, but a lot of it, she really did want to walk away, and it's amazing how much, you can say that's coincidence, I don't care if people believe the guided imagery thing or not, but I think that some of that memory was still in me of that she really didn't want me, because she could have worked out a way to keep me even though it was a difficult time.
Right.
And it's amazing how that stays in us.
Right.
All my mother had to do was tell someone, and I would have at least been in a part of my natural family. I now know that had she told my father, he would have married her. Had she told her mother, I would have been raised by my natural family. That pisses me off.
Right.
It really pisses me off that my therapist, my therapist is a birth mother whose daughter won't meet her. And she uses me.
Oh,
My
God, I
therapist
hate
uses me
that.
because
I
it's
hate
like
that.
voyeurism, and she's
Right.
getting some vicarious charge
Right.
out of listening to me
Right.
talk about
change.
how
You need to
wrong
change
I am
there.
to my
Right.
birth mother.
Right.
And I'm so sick and tired of feeling used by this person. She's no longer my therapist. But she's still, because of circumstances where I am and things like that, geographically, she's involved, and I can't seem to get her far enough away from her. I don't want to be used like this.
If you want to have a fantasy too, like, I want to hire a hit squad to get my therapist, we can talk about this here, right? Right now. I mean, it's like, let's just hear about it,
I can't believe we have to pay and then we have to train them.
Right! Oh, I know!
At $80 a shot.
Right.
Need to know about adoption.
Right.
I'd like to pay someone to shake all four of my parents. Good.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I really hate that I have four parents, none of whom won't acknowledge my existence, and not one of these people can accept all of me. They don't accept their half of me, the adopted half, the birth half. They don't accept
Right.
the whole
Right.
thing.
Why pay them though? Why don't we just have them pay to be shaken,
Yeah, society won't allow us to have four parents.
Right.
We're not allowed to have two mothers.
It's
Yeah,
fucked.
they can have as many children as they want.
Right.
I find
What really
that that's
pisses me off is the research that's been done about adoptees and how fucked up we're told we are. All the obsessing I do about how screwed up I am because I'm adopted, because I don't have any other kind of life history. So I think about, oh well, I'm this, and this, and this because I'm adopted, and I think I just put it on myself constantly. And I think the research that's been done about adoptees doesn't do anything to empower us.
Right.
And it's kind of burn it all.
Right.
It doesn't matter what's been done, it's still going on. I mean, why are they even doing the research?
Right.
I mean, the same things that happened back when we were all adopted are still happening.
Right. Get a clue. Why form these committees? They always form all these committees to study. It's like, why don't they just talk to us or listen to us?
Do those committees have any adoptees on them?
Right. No.
No. Are the researchers adoptees? Usually not. No.
I hate that it was never talked about when I was growing up. Some of you got the other side of, oh, how great I've been to you and everything. But in my family, it was we just didn't ever talk about it. I even had an older sister who was adopted, so you think, wow, and we were close, and you think, wow, you have built in somebody to talk to. But I think, I'm a therapist and I work mostly with alcoholic families, and I find that the kids don't talk to each other there either, and I think when it's sort of trickled down from the top, and we must have sort of gotten a message that it wasn't okay to talk about it, and so not only was it always in the back of my head, or maybe that's why it was, but it was also not talked about, and I'm sure that little children internalize something that you can't talk about as a shame issue. And it's still hard. It's fine for me here, and I love you all, and I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so thrilled I'm here. But it's still hard for me to say to somebody that I'm adopted.
Right.
Yeah, and then I'm fine once I've told somebody, but I can't tell you the people that know me well and know me for ages that don't know.
Right. Okay.
Kate.
I had the same thing in my family. We could never talk about adoption. I was an only child, and my parents told me when I was 10, but it had to be pretended, and I think this is an infertility issue, that I was born to my parents, and I was my mother's life, and she just practically lived through me and said she wouldn't even have any more children because she didn't want to take love away from me. To me, that is sick, And it wasn't until my early 40s I first talked about adoption and looked into all this. And then found I was stolen from my birth family. I could have grown up. My mother died, my father, they weren't married, he died before I was told it was adoption. But the birth family came to adopt me, my mother's sister. And they were told, oh no, you can't have her, she was adopted. But I wasn't. I was just sold to somebody else.
I hate this legal shit. Like, I hate the legal stuff. I hate this selling stuff. It is. Like, why don't they say the real words? Like, what are the real words, Like, we were...
Making money.
Right.
I remember being mad at my parents when I was a little kid. I found out I'm sure they had legal fees, but I found out they didn't have to buy me, and I was pissed. I thought they had to spend good money to get me.
Really?
Nobody feels awful. You feel
was
like you were bought. My dad told me all the time, he said, you cost us more money than our first house.
Oh God.
And I wanted to have cost them money.
I am tired of feeling sorry for birth mothers. Excuse me, but their pain doesn't mean jack shit to me. They gave us away. And that's the fact of the thing. They gave us away because it was going to fix their life to give us away. And it makes me feel real bad.
I'm a birth mom. Can I just...
No. This is for adoptees. I think you missed it. And we're just here for adoptees, and we're asking birth parents, social workers to not say anything. Okay.
Being one-sided, maybe.
No. Yeah.
There are other people here who aren't adoptees.
Okay, if one of the persons who wasn't an adoptee wants to explain it to them, that's fine. But okay, anybody else? Like, let's.
Can I make a comment just as an adoptee?
Yeah.
I feel like I know what you're. I feel like a lot of my pain is from my birth mother's pain, though. So it's hard for me to say, that her pain's garbage, because I think we do carry a lot of pain that we picked up.
Right.
I don't say her pain is garbage. I'm just saying I'm tired of packing her pain around.
Right.
I got my own, and I'm not going to feel guilty about. I don't want to feel guilty anymore that she gave me away. For some reason, that makes me feel guilty. I got to take care of her. I got to make things right for her. I can do that.
Shit, I do that with my adoptive parents.
Right.
My adoptive parents want me to do that. I had to carry around their anger. I had to carry around their secrets for the past 36 years. I've had to carry around all their lies. I've had to carry around all their shit. And I said, I don't have a childhood. I never had a childhood. I had to take care of them. I was so pissed, and I said, God, they fucked up the first 36 years of my life, and they can't have the rest of it.
Right. Great.
Screw up the rest of my life.
Right.
I'm really. It makes me angry. It does make me angry that this will never go away.
Yeah, we're getting to it.
I do get pissed sometimes. Like, fuck, I just want this to go away. I'm tired of having to deal with all this stuff because of somebody else is doing.
Right.
And it can always be an adoptee.
Right.
Well, and it's always there. I mean, you can deal with it and and function well and become healthier, but it never goes away.
The sensing I have as a man here, I'm really trying to stay, my anger is really a rageful thing for me all the time. It's always just a step away from all this adoption stuff. It's taken me 10 years to make it to accomplish like this. That's how much rage I carry inside around adoption issues.
Right.
And it was just too much.
Right.
You know, I can say it, I feel pretty safe here to say how fucking pissed off I am, you know? But any therapist I've ever been through now, your anger is getting out of hand.
Oh, God.
It's not about your anger, you can't control it. And fuck you, man, I'm angry. You know?
Right.
I haven't got that safe place to do it.
Right. Right.
And another issue that really is close to my heart is like, as an adoptee, I had to let go of my identity in order to fit somebody else. Like I was in a home where she lost a son in the drowning. And I had to completely let go of my identity, who's me, and replace that fucking son of hers.
Right, right.
I mean, I was even told I couldn't go to the fucking water because
Right.
she drowned. You know?
Oh, God.
So she prevented me from doing things that I wanted to do as a child. And it's like, where the fuck is me? I went to a workshop that said, you know, I'm so pissed. I'm always in the shadow. If anybody understands what I mean, like, I'm not me, I'm in the shadow.
Right.
I'm a shadow.
Right.
There, you've been living your life in the shadow.
Invisible.
Fuck, where's me? Like, who am I? And discovering me, and then I got all these adoption issues was never good enough. Like, because, you know, actually I'm one of those unadopted adoptees, because I went through the whole process, but I wasn't good enough. Like, the father didn't want me because he didn't want a son, and, you know, that's shitty. Like, it's real fucking shitty. And anybody that tells me adoption is a beautiful option are full of fucking shit!
Great.
I'm tired of making a joke out of it.
You got. We're not doing hands, but I hear you. So just go for it. You're.
Hands were adoptees, we're not.
I know. That's what I'm trying to like. Right.
So many other people go first all the time. One of the things that bothers me here is that there are other people that aren't adoptees that'll say, but I feel like I'm
Right,
adopted."
right.
Well, how do they know?
Right.
I know how you feel.
Right.
You know, I know how you feel, you.
I remember my adopted mother always telling me how I should feel.
Ugh.
If I was cold, she'd say, well, I'm not cold. You be cold. And when I faced the issue a few years ago, before I did my search of considering having children, my mother looked at me very seriously and said, well, how do you know you can even have children? Well, I couldn't.
Oh, God.
And so when I realized a couple of years ago that I really had to get my search over because I wanted to, for me, before having children, for me it was important to have my search over. My search is over now and I can, you know, excitedly tell you I'm on my way to the next. But my adopted mother has like given me shit all the time about, well, do you think you're really going to be a good mother? And I mean, I'm listening to her thinking that I'm her.
Right,
because
right.
that's the image she wants for me, and she wants nothing more, nothing less than who she is. And I feel like I'm going to have some problems if and when I do get pregnant and going into motherhood from this person who has tried to tell me if she's not cold, I'm not cold.
Right, right.
At the end of this one, you know, when you go into this last phase, are these non-adoptees going to get to take pot shots at the thing?
Oh, no, are you kidding?
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I mean, I'm only just saying that because, you know, it's like this is how we feel, right?
Yeah, I know,
This is right. Oh, I know. Right.
I think I'm gonna.
Right. No, not at all.
What they're gonna talk about anyway, anyhow.
No.
Actually, I'm wondering if we shouldn't put a sign on the door that just
Yeah, I'm
says,
really upset with
Stop
that.
it.
See.
Stop coming in and out as soon as.
I think it should.
I'll just do that. We won't.
Okay, good, great idea. Okay.
Say workshop closed.
Okay, so, you know, I think I wanted to, tell me, do you want to move on to the next parts of it, or do we want to still talk about?
I just want to
Okay,
say something.
great.
And I'm raising my hand.
That's fine.
One of the things that upsets me about being an adoptee is that I'm so removed from my feelings. I know the feelings are there, but they're very hard to articulate. And I hear the anger in here, and frankly, it makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
And I don't know whether it's because I also feel it and I'm afraid to express it, or
Right.
it's stuff that I hadn't thought about, or it's stuff that I have thought about and I can't say out loud. But maybe I'm at a place where this is uncomfortable
Mhm.
You know. And
I'm glad you're
everyone else
here.
feels that way, but I feel
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how about people we haven't heard from?
I think there's levels of anger.
Yeah.
There's a little anger.
Some of us have been working at this for
Well,
a
they're
long
working
time.
at it, yeah.
I'm like waiting for my anger to happen because you know Ann, you know, me and Ann are in the same group, and I don't know if she was there when I first came because I was the one, I could look into my mom and dad's face and you know, think about, look at my family, and this is the family that knew I was adopted and didn't tell me. I didn't find out till 2 years ago when I was 31. So I am playing catch up, and so here's my best is all stressed out and know to choke, you know, because and the other one's adopting as a person who hasn't been given all the facts yet. So
Yeah.
So I'm just, it's kind of what you said, you know, telling friends, oh, I didn't know you were adopted. I'm the one who says, oh, I didn't know I was adopted. Thank you for not filling me in. It's kind of like I have to do my own work to help myself because these other people didn't think far ahead enough that sooner or later I would find out or they would have to tell me. And I found out anyway.
My adoptive parents have never told me. They're still in denial. They say, you're ours, that's it, you know, and I found out by accident 3 years ago, and I'm 36. Yeah, so yeah, it's like, I mean, it was a big shock. I couldn't breathe. I came back from finding out this information and got pneumonia. It was like, yeah, I was going to die because I found out the truth. You know? All these lies and all these secrets, and this lies and the secrets are still going on. I confronted my adoptive mom, and she's in this little voice, separate from this voice that was up front and whatever, said, well, soon they're all going to be dead and nobody will be able to tell her. It'll be my secret and it'll be safe. You know.
It's not a detail. It's
still a secret.
Yeah.
One thing I like to say is I am a therapist, and
Let's just talk as an adoptee.
But I just wanted to say quickly because it's part of my issue too. And I think, you know, I work with mostly with alcoholics, and I'm not alcoholic, and so I'm always sort of in the out crowd there, and I would like to feel more comfortable about being an adopt, not feel that shame, so I could say, and yet I still, you know, when you say, like, you know, I don't want to mix my stuff in with the client's stuff either, and so, you know, I'll be happy to hear from anybody later on about what they would like in a therapist, because I would like to be there with understanding, and yet not in any way have them think I was taking their airtime. But the personal part of it for me is that I know that, you know, I would hear the alcoholism counselors come out and say I'm an alcoholic, and they would do it real easily, but it would be real hard for me to come out to a group of my clients and say I'm an adoptee.
Right.
And I just, in everything else in my life, I'm open about, so I know that's something still for me. And what I'm mad about is that I have that. I can tell you anything else.
Not about the shame of being adopted.
But it's just still hard to say that, and yet the other part of it is I struggle with how much of it's appropriate. So later I'd be happy to hear from any of you what you'd like in a therapist. But I hate that that's still there, you know. And I think it's from that we could never talk about it. So it must have been bad, so therefore I must have not been okay.
I'm a psychotherapist, and I hated keeping the secret, and I don't keep the secret. You know, I mean, you bet. You bet, and they have a right to know who they're working with. Whether I've done my work around the issue or not. If I haven't done my work, then I don't have any business being there. You know, so I really believe in being genuine, all the way, personally, you know, professionally, wherever it is. I don't have anything to be shamed about being adopted. You know, and I'm proud of who I am today, and I have a right to reclaim my roots. And that's where a lot of my anger was around, was that I had given away my roots. I'd been given away, and then I continued to give away my roots. You know, and it was time for me to reclaim them. This is me.
Okay, so just a few more minutes on this. People who we haven't heard from want to tell me.
I'd like to get Rambo and charge the Children's Home Society.
Great idea.
Did
you do it in New Jersey?
I have my birth parents are dead. I have their I sent them their birth certificates. My adoptive mother, crazy as she is, did sign a waiver. And they still won't give me my fucking records. And I know more about my family than my siblings do. Because they were all split up and everything. And we can't find out. And it just pisses the hell out of me.
It just makes me so angry.
This is me that the state of Minnesota can send a volunteer to look through my records that I.
Right, right.
Yeah, that somebody else
Right.
censors what little dribbles of information you get, you just put it all over.
Right, right.
Oh, it just.
I can't believe that my original birth certificate is sealed forever.
Mhm.
I cannot get at it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though I know what my
Legislators
original
just
name
voted
was.
it down again, thanks to the Children's Home Society, that sponsored the campaign against it.
Mhm.
$35,000 they spent to defeat that bill.
Big money, adoption, aren't we
Right.
fucking lucky, huh?
Yeah,
right.
We're fucking feeding the world on this fucking
Right.
issue we're working with.
You know, another thing that bothers me is like they think there's solutions, like, oh, now we'll just have open cooperative adoption. It's like, wait a minute, you know, there's still, I'm still gonna have the same feelings, you know what I mean? So, I don't,
Then we
yeah.
have to pay for information even if we get it.
Right.
Yeah, oh,
Right.
yeah, you know.
You remember when I was in psychotherapy, I sent for a resume on my background. I
Mhm.
got one page back, one fucking paragraph. He
Mhm.
was an intolerable child, that's why he wasn't adopted.
Oh, God.
Horrific, what do I do with that? The psychiatrist kind of just went with this, well, so what, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like, where was my history? I never could find it out, and even when I applied for it, I never got the truth.
Mhm. Because that's not the truth.
This is too much for you anyway, you know,
Right.
like you can't, Jared, I
Right.
don't want you to know this, you know?
Right.
It's not gonna be good for you to know.
Right.
And fucking being a sucker I was, I said, well, when I was getting married, I realized now how it was important for me to have that information. you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
My family, and they weren't even willing to give me that. You say, they don't recommend it, you know, Jerry's for your best interest, don't look at your.
Oh, God.
I mean, I had access to them.
Right.
Fortunately, it was somebody I was close enough to get that information, it was my caseworker.
Mhm.
But she discouraged me into even having it, and I bought into that bullshit back
Mhm.
then.
Mhm.
People who deny that I was adopted, I would tell my friends I'm adopted,
Mhm.
and I don't believe you look so much like your parents. I
Oh,
don't believe you look like your brother, and I'd have to like go and get the little statue from Holy Family and say, see, I was adopted.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I feel very upset because I'm an adoptee and I was born in Montreal and I was reunited with my birth family. And my mother only speaks French and I speak English.
Yeah.
And then I got a copy of my original birth certificate that said illegitimate daughter of parents unknown.
Oh, God.
So I help people search, but sometimes I get jealous insofar as
Mhm.
when they find people, they can speak in English to the people that they find. And I
Mhm.
don't have that luxury.
Yeah, yeah,
And it also kills me to see so much pain in people.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have some anger around, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, and then now in my reunion, this family, my birth family is extremely dysfunctional. And so, anyway, there's two families of dysfunction.
No, no.
I'm really angry too about not being held.
Uh-huh.
And,
Oh, God.
So my birth mother didn't fight.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I didn't get to have that bonding, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't get to have that connection.
Mhm.
And that's such a strong need to
Mhm.
every day of my life now as an
Mhm.
adult.
Mhm.
And that kid will never get to have that, and it
Mhm.
really sucks.
Yeah.
I'm angry that they left me for 10 days in the hospital with no name and no family and
Mhm.
all by myself. And I still think that the reason that boys don't like to freak me out is because I leave and
Oh,
take
God.
myself.
Mm.
I like it when the social worker tells you, well, I'm not sure where you were for those 10 days.
Yeah.
I have it all documented,
Mhm.
except for about 10 days, and it's like, well, where was I?
Mhm.
I had to be somewhere.
Mhm.
And I wanted explained to me
Mhm.
where I was.
Mhm.
I don't have my time of birth. That
Mhm.
really angers
Mhm.
me. I really would like to know
Mhm.
at what time of the day I came into the
Yeah.
That really bothers
Yeah.
me. It's not on my records. My birth mother doesn't remember.
Mhm.
And that's just, I would like to know that.
Mhm.
That was a real
Mhm.
sadness for me when I had my own first child, and you bring them home sooner now, but I was in the hospital, left in the
Mhm.
hospital, just like you know, for 10 days, and my mother,
Mhm.
birth mother, didn't have any contact with me, and my adoptive parents weren't allowed to come until the 10th day. And I don't know how many times I must have nursed my baby in those first 10 days, because pretty much, if you don't know about this stuff, you nurse them around the clock when they're little, and I held her all the time in between, and it really made me sad to look at her
Yeah.
and think, you know, nobody nursed me, of course.
Right,
I mean,
right,
I guess they fed me
right.
because I got big enough, but, you know, nobody, yeah, and then I also worked at a newborn nursery later on, and I.
This is Anna side A. Please turn your tape over and continue on side B.
Hey, the way we took care of, you know, sometimes because I was alone with 30 of them. Real different from when I had just my one baby, and I think I really realized, not anger, but just a real sadness that, God, what I freaking missed. And my older sister was in an orphanage for 4 months. And what she missed coming home at weighing 7 pounds at 4 months, you know, because who was holding her? They were just barely keeping her alive. You know,
the reason that ever taught me is when I was in the shelter where they used to come in to choose the adopted one. I used to, you know, they looked through a little fucking window. And I wonder if I'm going to be chosen. I had a twin sister on top of that.
Oh, God.
And they used to split us up because they didn't want to, but they found out people didn't want to adopt twins. So
No,
they would take my twin sister away from me.
They wanted to do the research, right.
The biggest adoption studies in the United States have been done on twins that are separated at birth. I'm convinced they're separated for that research.
It was terrible at times. And the thing is that I was very rebellious as a young child because they kept taking my twin sister away from me. That's the only grounding I had. I had my twin. And they would take, and I had to disown my twin. This may sound cruel, but I had to disown her. It was so painful, very young. Like I did it once too many times. And when she came back in my life, I was only about maybe 3 years old, and I said, you're not my sister anymore. It was too painful.
And it makes me mad that people don't understand that.
You're never going to get close to me, and I went through therapy, deep therapy, to get to that place. And I felt the despair of that separation. You know, and I haven't got my twin in my life today. There's been so much fucking damage around that.
Emotional child abuse.
Oh, definitely. I've had every damn kind of abuse you can think of. There isn't one I haven't had.
Okay, sir, I want to just give a little silence here for people who maybe would like to say something that weren't able to jump in that place.
I'm mad at the system for a couple of reasons. I'm mad that we don't have the benefit of genealogical information, and not so much when you're born because your parents are, 15 and 20 years old. Of course, they're healthy. But later in life, like both of my parents died at 51 of heart attacks, and I found my family in my 40s and had my heart checked, and I'm great. But if I hadn't found them and they hadn't watched what I do, I too could be dead in 6 years, and that makes me angry because I didn't have the benefit, and it also affects my children. They don't have that benefit. And the other thing that makes me angry is the secrecy is done to protect people who made a mistake in their lives, but we didn't make the mistake, and we're the ones that get frustrated when we get that information because all these laws protect the people. They're the ones that make mistakes. They're the ones that cut
Thanks. Anybody else?
One of the things I get really angry about are all those ads that seem to be everywhere. This loving couple looking for a baby. It's
right here.
How about the adopting for the pets from the SPCA? Or the highways, now they have Adopt a Highway. Cabbage Patch Falls.
In Washington right now, there's these huge billboards that are across buses that say, "We want your baby." And it's not for adoption, it's a hospital that wants to, women to come there and give birth to their children in their hospital. I mean, that's bad enough. But it just kind of strikes me in a different way.
I would like to say something. I think everybody in this room would agree. Read your newspaper. So if somebody does something wrong, it's the adopted son or the adopted daughter.
Right.
The adopted kid is really great. They don't put the adopted kid, this is the son and daughter of so-and-so. Let somebody do something wrong, it's always being referred to as the adopted child.
And then bumper sticker, adoption, not abortion.
Oh, God.
And I'm not personally very, very excited about abortion either, but what I don't like about that bumper sticker, and I think somebody's comment over here reminded me of that thing, as though it's just so simple. Now, sometimes it's true, the kid goes to a really great family from a really crappy circumstance, but we all know it just is not that friggin' simple, and that's from people who don't know, and it's like, again, hearing those Neanderthal comments that kills me. People that don't have a clue about it and would say to somebody, well, go ahead, carry the baby for 9 months, give it away, spend the rest of your life worrying about whether it's okay, as though that was the same. And
There's another one that
What about
hurts
the
me
third
too.
alternative of keeping your child from your husband?
What a concept.
The other bumper sticker that bothers me is adoption is the only option.
Oh, God.
That one really pisses me off too. Like, that's it.
You know what, I really think this should be like a 5-hour workshop, you know, because there's so much stuff here. And I guess for me, I am going to try and move it on to the next part, because I know for me, I get stuck in this place, and I think it's really important for me to voice this and for us all to voice this information. But I know that I need to take some action. I need to do something about it. And not to, you know, fix the situation, but just for my own self. So, but I do want to just make sure that there's people who, if there's anybody who hasn't said something that would like to say something. Okay. So I would like to hear from people about how they empowered themselves, what kind of things that they did to, you know, for instance, this is what I did, and you're welcome to come take this. Some of you probably seen it, the hints for the non-adopted and relating to the adopted. I was just, you know, all the comments that I got, I was so fucking pissed, and I wrote them all down and wrote my nasty little remarks, and it just made me feel so much better. And you know, and it makes me feel better that people still ask for it and still read it, you know, and people still like me after I wrote it, you know. So
you're all adoptees.
Yeah, right. So other people, what kind of things did you do to empower yourselves to feel better?
I finally grieved the loss of my mother, but it was circumstances. I was in a hypnotism class, and the hypnotist was adopted, and he had me up there because I'd been in his classes before. Make a long story short, he took me back to the womb, which was totally unexpected. And I was there. It was probably the most phenomenal experience of my life. But when I left that class, I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed because I realized that was the last time I was with my mother. And when I found my mother, she had died, and I was sad. But I spent that whole weekend really grieving her. Because even if they're alive, it's like they died in your life. But you don't get to go to a funeral, and you don't get to cry, and you don't get to really bury them. And that really released me.
So allowing yourself to grieve, you know, and not asking permission from other people, you know, because I feel like so often we feel like we have to do that. That sounds really good.
One thing I've done is when I'm with friends and they start talking about family trees and heritage and how they have all this great knowledge about their families, I let them know I'm adopted, and I just tell them don't make assumptions that everybody knows that. Just sort of like on a political level, like just don't really be careful about what you say about heritage, because a lot of people don't know, they don't have the right to know, and you can't make the assumption, you know, that everybody has that information.
I became a search consultant, which has been really good for me. I get too involved with my clients, but that's okay. And also, I'm working on a master's degree in psychology, and I specialize in adoption.
Great, we need you.
I feel like that's really been helpful also, but the best thing that I did was to search. The most empowering thing you can do is to search. And nothing else is like that, I think.
When you search, you change. You're a different person. Then after I searched, I helped people in the volunteer battle for 5 years. And when I know that someone comes into our group from Holy Family, I'll work twice as hard and twice as long and ask twice as many people. Let's get the search done very quickly. I would love to rub in Sister Bertiel's face, believe me. However, I don't.
I think that for me, the search was real empowering. And one of my angers is that it wasn't able to be done sooner, although I guess these things happen in their time, because in point of fact, I got a better adoptive family and would not have wanted to have been brought up in the other family. But I wish I had known that sooner, because I was one of these people that took out my anger at my adoptive parents rather than the birth parents. And I could have let them off the hook a lot longer, a lot sooner back. And the other thing is, when I was going through grad school, I had a former nun for a teacher, and she assigned us to write our autobiography, and I really encourage everybody to do this. And I had only 1 week to do it, and I was a single parent with 2 little kids, and it was, wasn't like I had a lot of time. And I was going to do just da-da-da-da, I went to school here, and I did this, and I did that, make it short. And then I thought, let's get honest. If I really write an autobiography, it's got a lot to do with adoption. And I really felt trusting toward her and felt that she wouldn't get up in front of the class and read the paper. So I really wrote how it really was. And one of the ways that that turned out to be really good for me that I could not have known at the time is that I was just beginning to go with the person, this was like 8 or 9 years ago, with the person I've been married to now for several years. And he has a sister who I get along with fine, but she's a very bitter person, and she adopted 2 kids and did real poorly with them. And I really identify with what you said, because she took one of the kids when the kid was 3, and then the girl ran away from home and they never saw her again after she was 14. This woman really messed her up. And she told me one time, well, you know, even as a 3-year-old, her whole life nobody could get along with her. You know, just craziness. So my husband had taken from her this idea that adoptees are genetically inferior. And he made that comment before he knew I was adopted. And he was over at my house one day, and we had a very nice day, and we were just getting to know each other. And thank God, I not only had that autobiography I had written, but it was all neatly typed and everything. And as he was going out the door to go home, I said, take this with you. He said, what is it? I said, never mind, take it with you. Read it. And he went home and he read it. And I'm waiting, it's like an hour and a half, and I think, well, I don't know. So I called him, and I said, hi, this is, I didn't think he probably even said this is Priscilla, I just said hi, and he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I was just going to call you. I'm in the process of reading it a second time. And from then on, he was the one that was with me through every bit of my search. He funded a lot of it because I didn't have any money. And he's been absolutely fantastic. But he had just come from always hearing this other stuff. So, but this was really empowering, and I had that chance to turn one person really around. And he would never sit by and let people make NFL comments out there.
So writing things down and telling your truth.
Yeah, and it was good for me as an exercise, even before I used it to give to him. To see my story written down, too, you know, something concrete about that. And I guess that speaks to the amorphousness of being adopted, that it was sort of like no family tree and any of this kind of stuff, but now I had it printed on a biography, you know, and it was very healing, and I get my clients to do that, and even if they're not adopted, I get them to do that just for some containment, and somehow it's real healing.
Great, yeah.
Go along with that, something that we do in my search group is I get people to tell the story. I told my story. I'm a registered nurse. When I got my non-identifying, I was 42 years old, and I got it by telephone. I'm a New York born adoptee, adopted out of New York City. The caseworker told me, well, your mother had a hair lip, and your father's, your mother had a hair lip and VD, and your father's name was Joe. That afternoon, I was an IV therapist, so I went to every floor in the hospital. One time or another during the 8-hour shift. At every nurse's station, I grabbed the nurse. Hey, my mother had a hair lip and VD, and my father's name was response I got. Every single floor, every person hugged me.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Great story. Great story.
So I teach people in my support group that I started for this reason. These same things, telling your story. And learning how to be self-empowered. Do your search. You can beat the system, and I'll tell you how.
Yeah?
I've really had to get into to dealing with the very intense feelings that go along with all this. And to do a lot of, like you were talking about before, a lot of rage work, where you know I might pound for an hour on a punching bag, scream and yell, and get help for hours, and cry and get sung to. And I think that so much of this for me is not about words, and it's not about talking about it, and it's not about sort of trying to make intellectual sense about it, but it's really feeling. And I'm in the process now of creating a ritual where people that are important to me in my life will come together for a several-hour, almost like a rebirthing process, where people will, you know, I'll go through the experience and tell people before this, plan out so that I can hear all along the way what I wanted to hear, you know, in the womb, to being born, to all the way along, to be, you know, being told that I was wanted and loved and cared about. And I'm in the process of doing that.
Great. I'm going to take these 3 more right here, and then I want to go on to the next part.
I feel grateful. You know, I look at the positive side. You know,
there's gifts in adoption in a sense of my personal growth.
Mhm.
And it's put me on a path of discovery
Mhm.
that I would not trade for anything right now.
Right.
You're like,
Right.
we have a hell of a lot to give back to the world.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
It's opened me up to compassion, understanding,
Mhm.
understanding the male, the female,
Mhm.
relationships. I mean, it's been a great gift, you know, when you see, you gotta get through the shit, and I'm still working through some of the shit.
Mhm.
But on the other side of that, there's some beautiful gifts. I'm an artist now, and
Uh-huh.
I had so much energy tied up in adoption issues
Mhm.
that I could not focus my energy anywhere else. And I'm really grateful now. I'm proud of it. I'm an artist, and there was a time that can't be me. I'm just an adoptee. Like, away.
Right.
And I've had a lot of encouragement from my wife here. This is the next wife that's come back into my life. So some growth around AA, around the 12-step program. Tell the story, identify with that. And it's like. And art has been a great healer for me.
Great.
Like I've used it as a tool to get in touch with my feelings.
Right.
I spent 36 years of my life with no feelings.
Right,
In a sense,
right,
closed down.
right.
And it's been a terribly painful process.
Mhm.
There's some beautiful gifts on the other side. And I encourage anybody as an adoptee, go for the goal.
Mhm. Great, great.
I said deciding to search was really, and I'm just not identifying information, but I'm really looking forward to the actual search, and that's helped them. Coming here has been floodgates, and just at the opening session, just getting up and saying in front of everybody, I'm an adoptee, and girl, but it felt so good just to be in a room full of people who can relate at some level one way or the other. And also, when I got my non-identifying information, I found out that my birth mother had given me a name. And my name is Kate Hemian, and my birth name that my birth mother gave me was Rhiannon. And it was, and at first I thought, I'm glad I'm Kate. I'm glad I'm not Rhiannon. And now, thinking about it, I am Rhiannon. And part of me, and it's just really neat to know that I have a whole other part of me.
Yeah.
And it feels right to be Rhiannon, although my first initial reaction, oh God, what a name. but it's great, and it feels really good.
Excuse me, the word special.
Yeah. No, but it does really feel good to have that information and to know that I have another name, and it's okay to have two names.
Right. So, I want to just move on, because I really want to do this last exercise, which is really great. But maybe I don't know if people want to go to that adoptee support group tonight, or if people want to have more of this, we might be able to set up a time later in the conference to do some more. Because I think this is just really, really important stuff, and we all know who's here, so we can talk afterwards. So one more.
Okay, to resolve this, I went into therapy. I've been through regular therapy, I've been through hypnotherapy, because there were some things that I just could not bring out. I'm very, very specific now with the people in my life, telling them precisely what I need and how they can give it to me. I say to my birth mother, I need you to hold me because I need to feel safe. So I'm real specific, I don't leave anything up to the imagination. That way, if they don't do it, it's not because they don't understand.
Right.
And I'm taking that little iffy factor out of their foot. The other thing I've done is I have written several books on it, and that helps. And I'm busy with trying support groups. And the great thing that's helped recently has been I've been using sensory deprivation tanks, and I think they're wonderful.
Great, thank you. There's so much in here, of things that we've done, and the more we can share that information, I think, is really helpful. This last exercise, there's two more things that I'd like to do. And this exercise is actually from Barbara Scheer, who wrote a book called Wishcraft and Teamworks. And what it is we're going to get in small groups of 3 to 4 people, and preferably people that you don't know. And one person is going to turn their back. This is really scary. One person is going to turn their back, and the rest of the people are going to say good things about that person. And they're going to say it in the third person. Like, I really like, somebody give me a name. Just Nancy. Okay, I really like Nancy. you know, she like wears like the greatest colors, and she seems to me like she's really vibrant and alive. And, you know, so talking about the person and how you perceive that person's positive qualities. And what I've found in doing this work with adoptees is, or what I found when I've done this with myself, is I've heard things about myself that, I mean, I just start sobbing every time it happens, because I hear how people see me. Like, they see me in like these things that I sort of, you know, things that I thought were bad about me, people see in positive lights. And I'm always shocked at how people who I think don't know me, how I appear to them, and I appear in this, you know, way that they like me. So do people have questions about that, or would people like to see an example of that happening? Or do you feel like you can just go ahead and do that?
I feel kind of awkward doing it with people I don't know, because how can I say
That's the best. That's the best part about it. If you feel awkward about that part, one way you can do it is just go around really quickly, and you're going to say, like I'm going to say, I'm Amy. I'm hot pink. I love flamingos, although the tacky ones out there are not me. But identify yourself. Say your name. Say a color that you are, and speak as if you are that color. If you feel, you know, scared to do it beforehand, that's just a little thing that opens you up. But it's really worth it. So it'll take about, don't have that much time, so 10 minutes. It's not going to be that long that you're going to have for each person. And then I want to do just one little thing at the end. So go for it. I would. Can I?
Adoptees don't behave very well.
Yeah, great.
You're bad ones.
Okay, what what I'd like to do, just to have an ending, I'm sorry we don't have time to like talk about that experience, because I've always found that to be really helpful. But we have the choice of standing in a circle and each just saying one sentence, one positive things about yourself, or we could do a group scream, which is we all hold hands and we all scream really. We go down like this, we scream really loud, and then we go up like that. So how many people want to scream? Okay, good. How many people want to do the positive things?
It's not logical.
Okay. What?
Just a suggestion before. I'm wondering if we should like take over the adoptee support group and this afternoon.
That's fine with me.
And sort of
yeah.
do what we want to do, whether it be
Yeah.
range stuff or whether it be holding.
Great
or whether it be
idea.
Just something other than sitting around and talking
Yeah.
about how we feel about things.
Or we can have two. Why don't we have two separate circles? I guess.
We do both.
It seems like they're like having a fit. They, you know, they wanted to get in this
Why
room.
don't we do this? Why don't we, aside from the adoptee support group, just plan to meet somewhere and continue this?
I'll put a sign up on the bulletin board. Okay. So yeah. So people will say, let's get in a circle and we'll decide then what we want to do. Thanks to everybody for coming. Thank you. Oh, I don't know.
Susan.
Very specific groups.
Oh, wait, I want to get one of these things. Well, oh, there's plenty.
You shut the door. Whoever's last out.
Is your wife coming back?
Well, no, she doesn't feel like it's the right place for her for some reason. I think it's, I don't know.
There's somebody back there. She come out.
So,
Okay, Cheryl.
okay, it actually seems like we might, if everybody just say one short sentence about themselves, we might have time. So, I'm Amy, I love myself.
I'd rather scream.
We'll scream too.
I'm Spring, and I'm proud that I have survived.
I'm glad my baby decided to live, because when she was all alone, she
Let's
wondered
go.
about
One
it.
sentence.
A few minutes.
I'm Priscilla, and I'm okay.
I'm Sue, and I'm surviving. I'm Catalina, and I like the name I gave myself.
I'm Amy, and I'm me.
I'm Connie, and I'm loving.
I'm Kate, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm Jeannie, and I'm finally myself.
I'm Sandra. I'm glad I did my search.
Hi, I'm Ann. I'm the regional director of the group that's meeting here right now. I'm sorry, we'll have to
We have
leave.
till, it says 12:15, so we're, yeah, okay.
We need to
so
finish
sorry.
this.
1 minute.
We have 2
Go ahead.
minutes. We're halfway.
Sarah, Sarah, go, 1
You
minute.
have 30
I'm
seconds away from
Sarah
that.
and I have a loud voice.
I'm Shirley and I'm strong.
Uh-huh.
I'm Jerry and I'm stronger.
I'm Carrie, and I'm trying to become Carolyn, and I'm very unique.
Uh-huh.
I'm Susan, and I'm getting better.
I'm Jack, and there's only blue skies ahead.
Great.
I'm Mary Ellen, I will not be moved.
Okay, so everybody, this is what we do. We go down into the middle, and we're just going to start the scream there, and then just scream, go up like this, and then release hands. And I really am glad you're all here, so thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Do you want a real hug?
This is the end of this session.